to nurse that calf injury, and Paris Campbell fractured his hand against the Steelers and will miss several weeks. So a big opportunity for Zach Pascal today, who's emerged as a top receiver, and he's proved once again last week, Greg, that he is capable of carrying the load.
Mel, thank you. The Indianapolis Colts won the toss and will defer. The Dolphins will get their hands on the football first here in Indianapolis. And we're glad you're with us. Jakeem Grant is deep for Miami, standing at his own goal line. And we're underway. This one will ride through and out of the end zone, which means the Dolphins will start from their own 25-yard line. And there is Ryan Fitzpatrick in his 15th season out of Harvard. Has won a game as a starter with 7 different teams. That means he's got a few interesting tags on his luggage.
He does, but everywhere he's gone, he's been a streaky quarterback. He could have a game where he comes out here and throws 4 or 5 touchdowns, but he's also shown games where he's a gunslinger and he'll try squeezing it into coverage at times.
Fitzpatrick with the quick pass out to Kalen Ballage, and Ballage for about 3 or so, brought down by Kenny Moore. The offensive line for the Miami Dolphins, centered by number 67, Daniel Kilgore, in his 9th year out of Appalachian State. And among the backs and the receivers, you just saw Kalen Ballage making the catch out of the backfield. Mark Walton's suspension, as Melanie referenced a few moments ago, puts Ballage in the spotlight today for the running game. This is Ballage. And they'll mark his forward progress short of the 30. Justin Houston makes the stop. He gives us a chance to look at the Indianapolis defense. And Justin Houston, boy, what a game wrecker he was a week ago. And almost lifted his team to a win in Pittsburgh. The linebackers include Darius Leonard, last year's Defensive Player of the Year. And then Pierre Desir is down as the starting cornerback for the Indianapolis defense. Here's a 3rd and 5.
Oh, and this is an area the Dolphins need to improve on. 26th in the NFL right now on 3rd down.
Fitzpatrick throws this side of the field. That is complete, and close to the 40-yard line is Devontae Parker for the first down.
This is basically just going to be run up and run a curl, get to first down depth. They're a couple of yards past first down depth, and you can see the timing of it as soon as he turns around. Basically, Fitzpatrick is throwing it right to the back of the helmet of Devontae Parker, so when he comes out of it with that defender to the inside, he knows right where the placement of the ball will be.
So the Dolphins now from the 40. Fitzpatrick under pressure, got rid of it, complete across the 45, and near midfield lost the football. Mike Gesicki, the tight end, lost it, and recovered by Indianapolis. Kenny Moore, the quarterback, on the ball.
Well, and that's exactly what the Dolphins couldn't afford. They come into this game minus 13, last in the league in turnover ratio. They had a little momentum going. They were able to pick up some first downs, get the chains moving. Gesicki sits right in between the zone and gets it upfield. It looks like that ball comes out before his knee makes contact with the ground. Darius Leonard is the one that punches it out.
Trent, they had no turnovers last week in the loss to Pittsburgh. First time since week 15 of last season that they were able to go through a game without turning the ball over, and they turn it over early here today.
Hey, 5-2. Brian Hoyer getting his first start since 2017, starting off with great field position.
At the Miami 49, this is Marlon Mack. And Mack has no gain on the play. Hoyer, 11th season out of Michigan State. And as we said, his first start in a long time.
Well, and you would think you're going to see a heavy dose of Marlon Mack just because of the fact the Dolphins are struggling with their run defense, 31st in the league in stopping the run, and Marlon Mack is one of the top 10 rushers in the league. So you'd think you're going to see a heavy dose of that, but if there's that much focus and attention on it, they may be trying to force it. The Dolphins may be trying to force this into Brian Hoyer's hands.
Hoyer, play fake, throwing, incomplete, off the hand of his intended receiver, Eric Ebron. It'll be 3rd and 10. That Indianapolis offensive line features a maybe the best young guard in all of football, 56, Quentin Nelson, has not allowed a sack at all in 326 consecutive pass blocking snaps. And in the wide receivers and running backs, Marcus Johnson has been brought up from the practice squad. They expect big things from number 83, the wide receiver.
Well, he had spent some time with Frank Reich in Philadelphia, so he's very familiar with this offense.
3rd and 10. Hoyer running out of time, now throws over the middle of the field, and that is complete. Zach Pascal with the catch and a first down.
Well, speaking of Marcus Johnson, he's on the slot side to where Pascal comes in, and Johnson is just clearing out. He's running the seam to get the safety out of there. Pascal just does a deep dig route. Excellent placement by Hoyer over the tops of the linebackers in front of the safety. First down for the Colts.
This Indianapolis team cut wide receiver Deion Kane, and you noticed a lot of activity for 83 at practice on Friday, Trent.
Well, and that's one of the things that jumped out to us because he wasn't activated on Friday. And I was talking to Chris Ballard. I said, 83's in here getting a lot of work, especially down in the red zone and all over the field. He said that very well could be a possibility based on the roster move that was made on Saturday. So we expect to see quite a bit from him today.
Chris Ballard, the Colt GM, pick up a 5 on that play. It's 2nd and 5. The Colts now at the Miami 21.
Doyle and Ebron down here to the bottom. Colts like to utilize the tight end, especially with the size matchup.
Hoyer, quick flip, that is complete. And this is Nyheim Hines, belted out of bounds. But not before he got inside the 10, and it'll be a 1st and goal.
Anytime Hines comes in the ball game, you got to be aware of him being utilized in the passing game. He played wide receiver in college, and he's transitioned, so he's very comfortable out in space and trusting his hands. As I mentioned, Ebron and Doyle were to that side. The Dolphins were paying such attention to him, they let Hines go free in the flat.
Yeah, here we go. Green 18!
On first down, Hoyer lofting toward the end zone, incomplete. Little battle between Zach Pascal and number 40, Nick Needham, who is starting for injured Ken Webster on the corner.
Well, Needham, the rookie free agent out of UTEP, as you said, getting the start because of injuries in the secondary.
This Indianapolis offense, pretty good. Scoring on the first possession of the game. 2nd and goal.
Chin, T! Breathe, it's hot! Green 18! Touch!
Hoyer over the middle, touchdown! Oh. Now let's see what the call is as the officials confer. That's Stephen Parker who came away with the football.
Well, they're saying touchback. They're saying interception and touchback.
It is an interception.
We were talking to the Colts on Friday as we get the announcement.
The field is an interception that results in a touchback. First down.
Well, whether it's a touchdown or a turnover, it's going to be reviewed.
Looks like a touchdown to me, Trent. Here's Clay Martin. Well, apparently
he had already moved on.
The review has happened already, and it is now ruled an interception. Gene Startor.
Remember, we have to have 3 parts to make this a catch. We had possession, the second foot landed, but the time element for that receiver to make a football move did not come into play, and as he was falling, he lost that football and was possessed by the defense without the ball touching the ground, and I'm assuming that that is exactly what New York did while they kept this play as an interception stand on the field and ruled it that way.
Thanks for clearing that up, Gene, because that was the thing we were talking about, Greg and I, is both feet were down. It looked like he had control of the ball, but because you said that third element, he had to finish it to the ground. Because the second step, he was falling to the ground, he had to complete the third element. So I appreciate you clearing that up.
All right, Gene, thank you. Here's Fitzpatrick, play fake. Over the middle, found his man at midfield. That is Devontae Parker. No, I still think it was a touchdown, Trent.
And here's the thing. because it was called an interception and a touchback on the field, there really wasn't enough to overturn it the other direction because of the three elements that Gene was talking about. Had it been called a touchdown, I don't know if there was enough to overturn it the other direction. So they went with what the call was on the field, and both teams have had a turnover. Now Miami has the ball up by midfield.
On first down, the give is to Balaj. Balaj inside the 40 to about the 38. And just to clarify, just a few minutes ago, yes, I did say his feet's on the ground. So everybody put their phones down.
That's a nice run by Balaj, though. He, when you consider what he's done this season, he's had 2 starts earlier in the year, but in those 2 starts, he didn't even have double digits in yardage. They struggled early in the season getting the running game going, and if he can get some carries like that, that's going to go a long way to helping Fitz in this passing offense.
On 2nd and 2, Fitzpatrick throws, and that is complete to Patrick Laird out of the backfield. He is inside the 35 to about the 33. Let's talk about your game plan for the day, Trent.
Well, first off, for Miami, Fitz must be magic. I know it's a little play on words, but I think he's going to need to, because I don't know if the Colts are going to let the run game get going. And then defensively for Miami, they need to slow down the Mack truck. I think we touched on it earlier when the Colts had the ball. That's what they want to try doing against that Dolphin defense. The O-line needs to live up to the hype. We talked about them being the best offensive line in the league. They need to back it up. And then defensively, no Balaj party. You can't let Balaj get going with the run game.
And Balaj brought to a halt there, maybe lost a yard. Darius Leonard, as he often is, in on the tackle. Meanwhile, Fitzpatrick, 6 out of 6 throwing the football today.
Well, and it was nice having him in meetings last night, getting a chance to talk. He just said he wanted to have fun. You know, he got benched earlier in the year when they put Rosen in for those 3 starts, and he just said, if I ever get back out on the field, I'm going to make sure I have some fun. He realizes he's quite a bit older than this entire roster, and he said, you know what? I don't know how long it's going to last. I just want to go out and have fun and bring some energy to it.
Sideline pass is knocked down, intended for Devontae Parker, and Rock Yassin was there to break up the play. This is Fitzpatrick as a starter, and the difference from his first few games out onto the field at the start of the year.
Well, and everybody was struggling. Offensive side, defensive side, it was a struggle early part of the season. A lot of lopsided losses for the Dolphins, but as this new system is getting implemented, as Brian Flores is sticking with his plan and what he wants to get done, things have gotten better, and they finally got a win last week.
Here's a 3rd and 11. The draw. Balaj spun to the turf at about the 30-yard line, and that is about 7 yards shy of a first down.
Well, that was strictly to try and get into, of course you want to try and get the first down, but that decision was made to try and get closer as far as field goal range is concerned. If you don't get any yardage, you're all of a sudden attempting a 55-yard field goal, but now with the yardage they were able to pick up on 3rd down, it's going to be a 48-yard field goal.
Jason Sanders.
Or 47-yard field goal.
Second-year kicker out of New Mexico. From 47, straight enough and long enough.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by United States Air Force. Experience more at airforce.com. Best Buy. Let's talk about what's possible. And by AT&T.
That is a look at Connor Prairie, a living history museum in Fishers, Indiana, which recreates life in the 19th century. And that is Brian Flores, first-year coach of the Miami Dolphins. His team with a 3-0 lead, and Nyheim Hines is deep for the kick. He will not return this one. And so the Colts will begin from their own 25-yard line. These quarterbacks come to us today from a lot of different directions, Trent.
Well, and you consider Hoyer 7 different teams, Fitz 8 different teams, and when you try and find an example of a journeyman, that's those 2 guys right there. They fill it.
I am not at all sure I'd have recognized Ryan Fitzpatrick without the beard.
Well, I asked him, I said, your equipment guy can't be real happy with the chin strap choice because with that beard, there's no way you're going to be able to keep the chin strap on. And you'll notice it a few times today where he's got to tug it and try and get it back in place.
They'll start with Marlon Mack looking for a hole and doesn't find one as he gets a yard, maybe two, on the handoff, brought down by Eric Rowe, who is playing safety today for the injured Rashad Jones, moving over from corner. Look at the defense for you. Up front, Jenkins, Gottschall, and Wilkins. Linebackers, Jerome Baker and Raekwon McMillan, both out of Ohio State. And we just told you about the secondary on 2nd and 8. This is Marlon Mack, and Mack out close to the 30-yard line. They'll mark him down at 29, so it'll be 3rd and 6.
Well, and you can see the Colts are already trying. They're trying to establish the run, trying to get something going. And on the reverse side of that, you can see the Dolphins are prepared for it. They knew coming into this with the offensive line, the way the Colts attack things with that offensive line, the way Mack likes to run downhill between the tackles. They've made a commitment to that and are going to try and force the ball in the air from Hoyer.
3rd and 6 for Hoyer. With time, down the sideline. Nyheim Hines couldn't stretch far enough to make the catch. And the punting unit will be on.
Excellent pressure by Beagle. He's the one that forces Hoyer to throw that ball early. He just tried airing it out and let Hines run underneath it just a little bit too far.
So the Indianapolis punter, Rigoberto Sanchez. Kind of a low line drive kick. It bounces, takes a Miami bounce backwards before it's down at about the 35-yard line. 5:09 to play in the opening quarter here in Indianapolis. It's a 3-0 Miami lead. It's a 3-0 Miami lead on the Colts. We welcome you back. And well, you talk about inexperience at the running back position, and running backs are precisely the ones that Brian Flores put through the paces this week in practice.
Well, they put an extra emphasis on the run game because, as we just saw, the inexperience that's at that position coming into the ball game.
Balaj bulls his way to the 40, a pickup of 4. Kalen Balaj, in only his 2nd season out of Arizona State, knows this is a big time for him. Knows it's a very important time for him.
Well, and it's a great opportunity for him because of what's going on that position. Kenyon Drake being traded away, Mark Walton, as we've mentioned a few times, with the 4-game suspension. So now Kalen Balaj has this opportunity, and what a great opportunity it is for him to carry the load for the Dolphins today.
Fitzpatrick. That's complete. Allen Hurns. His first reception of the day, and it's good for a 1st down. Good for 18 yards to the Colts 42.
Well, it's the one thing about Fitzpatrick. When he gets into a rhythm, he can still fire it. And he's shown great touch on some earlier throws. That time trying to fire it in between. He dropped his arm a little bit. You saw him throw the angle through the window there in the defensive line and right on the money.
Fitzpatrick 7 of 8 throwing the ball for 79 yards. And on 1st down, another play fake. Fitzpatrick, a bullet over the middle, except his receiver was on the turf. Devontae Parker in the middle of the field. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Well, and sometimes as you watch Parker's inside release, it's just going to be dig, gets away with a little shove, and then the DB gets away with a little tug and a shove. It's Rock Yassin got away with one there, but it looked like Parker extended his arm at the top of the route. So no flag. It was a little bit of back and forth by both, and that was another one, though, that Fitz tries to do that sometimes. He tried squeezing that in between 2 linebackers in front of the safety and with a corner right in the pocket. So he doesn't have any lack of confidence in his arm.
On 2nd and 10, Fitzpatrick completes that one and inside the 35 to the tight end Mike Gesicki, who fumbled earlier. Held on to that one. It'll be 3rd down. 3rd and about 3 This is such a young Miami team, and they're so well positioned for the future, Trent, with draft picks and cap space.
Yeah, they have 5 picks in the first 2 rounds coming up in this draft, and then the following year they have 4 picks in the first 2 rounds. And you know, when you come into a situation like this, Brian Flores got his start with the Patriots in personnel, started off as a scout for Scott Pioli, so he understands what's going on and what they're trying to build here.
3rd and 3. Batted down at the line of scrimmage, incomplete. Darius Leonard.
But getting back to Brian Flores, he just was talking, there's no excuse for losing. I'm not going to talk about the inexperience we have, how young we are, the trades we've made, anything else. If you're on the field, there's no excuse for not finding a way to win. And speaking of finding a way to win, the Dolphins are keeping their offense on the field, not going for a long field goal attempt. Would be about a 53-yarder, 52-yarder. Instead, going for it on 4th and 3.
Sanders has kicked a 54-yarder this year, but instead, you're right, they'll go for it on 4th and 3. Fitzpatrick, that's complete. Looking for the first down is Jakeem Grant, and he's got it and much, much more.
Grant's lined up on the far side, or the left side for Fitzpatrick. He's going to be the single receiver coming from the right side of your screen, and it's basically just a drag underneath, a full sprint. You can see because of the wash, defensive back's not able to get through all that. I believe it was Tell that was chasing him.
Yeah.
So new set of downs for the Dolphins at the Indy 23-yard line to give us to Balaj. And Balaj inside the 20 to about the 18. Balaj running hard early. He's sure big enough, Trent, 6'2", 231.
Oh, he's got the size. It's just getting that opportunity. I mean, coming into this game, he was only averaging 2 yards per carry. So there just really wasn't a lot on him when you looked at from the tape this season. Now, last year he did have the one game over 100 yards, but that game included a 75-yard touchdown run.
2nd and 5 as we're under 2 minutes to play here in the first quarter. This is Balaj out of the backfield, and he is cut down by Rock Yassin. And Yassin comes away shaken up just a bit.
Well, when you're the quarterback on that one, that's where you look at and you're like, my bad. That was bad ball placement that he had to turn around, and it looks like Rock Yassin is still down.
Yassin is Indy's 2nd round draft pick out of Temple.
Uses that right shoulder.
Still down. I wonder if he just had the wind knocked out of him.
Well, the way he's kind of favoring that right arm and holding the arm close to his body.
We'll take a break.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Progressive, making it easy to bundle your home and car insurance. And by Verizon, the network more people rely on.
A minute 37 to play here in the first quarter. Rock Yassin was able to leave the field under his own power. He's been replaced by Shaquille Taylor at cornerback. 3rd and 5. Patrick Laird is alongside Fitzpatrick in the backfield. Fitzpatrick throws, that's complete. It'll be a first down and a little bit more as Laird bulls his way to about the 10-yard line, just inside the 10.
Laird's in the backfield, and watch, he's gonna get out into space, and it ends up being Jabal Sheard that has to cover him. Sheard was coming in on pass rush. He thought he was going to be blocked, and as soon as Laird released him, he tried grabbing him because he knew that was his man. With Willis blitzing from the inside, Sheard was left to try and defend him.
This is a direct snap to Balaj, and Balaj gets 2 yards. Ryan Fitzpatrick came out as a wide receiver and was about as far away from the snap as you can possibly get.
Far away from the ball, and did you see how far off the ball he was? I don't want you coming up and blocking me. I don't want you coming up and hitting me. All the way down here at the bottom of your screen. And then he backs up.
Back it up.
Yes. It was no doubt about it. He was not getting in the mix.
2nd and goal from the 8. This is the 11th play of this drive.
Alert, alert! 50's the mic! Shula! By 20!
Balaj inside the 5 to about the 3.5-yard line. And with that, we come to the end of the first quarter. 3-0 Miami. They're threatening for more. We're coming back to Indianapolis here on CBS after this. A letter of thanks can go a long way as part of the NFL's Huddle for 100. Join the NFL and its players in a salute to service to honor those who bravely serve our country. Visit NFL.com/salute to learn how you can send your letter today. We get set to start the second quarter here at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. This has been a 4.5-minute drive for Miami.
Well, and coming into this game, the Colts defense is the 4th best defense in the NFL in goal-to-goal situations, keeping them out of the end zone. So big 3rd down for them as they try and hold Miami to just a field goal attempt.
This is only the 2nd time all season that Miami has held a lead at the end of the first quarter. And at 3rd and goal, looking for the end zone here. Balaj in the backfield. Fitzpatrick looks, still looking, all kinds of time. End zone, incomplete, intended for Parker.
Well, that's a lot of time. Fitzpatrick came out. The flood of players to the right flat and back corner is where he wanted to go. Then he came all the way back to the left, hoping to get Wilson in the back left corner before coming back to the right again and nearly getting the touchdown to Devontae Parker.
And at 4th and goal, they're going to go for the touchdown. This time, Myles Gaskin is in the backfield. On 4th and goal, the flip is to Gaskin on the far side. Gaskin met at the 3 and buried.
And had they been able to get that ball a little bit flatter, had Fitz been able to throw it a little flatter, it would have been a walk-in touchdown. Fitz is talking to the official because he thought the Colts were offsides. It looked like they moved a little bit before the ball. Ball may have been tipped. It looked like it was. You could see the change of the rotation of the ball.
Here's the move that you were talking about up front.
And that's as soon as Fitz threw the ball, he looked at the official and threw his hands up like, where's the flag on offside? So
that was Danico Autry who moved, but apparently not early enough to bring the flag.
Excellent job by the Colts. Got a hand on that ball, prevented the touchdown. That's Justin Houston getting a fingertip on it.
So here are the Colts from their own 3-yard line. Hoyer out of his own end zone, far sideline. That is complete, and out of bounds is Eric Ebron.
Ebron had been vocal this week about wanting to be more involved in the offense. So far today, they've looked his way a few times and had a chance to get that touchdown before it was yanked away for an interception, but definitely getting him more involved than he has been recently.
They asked Frank Reich if he was offended by that. Frank says, no, I loved it. Here's the pitch for Mack. Mack following blocking, gets outside and out of bounds. At about the 25-yard line, run out by Raekwon McMillan, and enough for first down, 14 yards.
Both Ryan Kelly and Braden Smith pulling out into space, creating that wall for Mack to get up the sideline.
So the Colts get out of the shadow of their own end zone, shadow of the goalpost in their end zone. And it's a first down at the 25-yard line.
Grenade team!
Play fake to Mack. He picks up the blitzer. The pass is complete. This is Jack Doyle. And another nice gainer for the Indianapolis Colts, and they move it out to just short of midfield.
Excellent pickup by the Colts. Jerome Baker comes on a blitz. That blitz is picked up, which allows Hoyer time to make an accurate throw out to Doyle.
23-yard pickup on the play. Another first down, this time out to the 48. Hoyer gives it to Mack, and Mack gets it back to the line of scrimmage. If be lucky, it'll be second down. See Quentin Nelson over there to help Mack off the ground. That's not unusual, is it?
Yeah, he told us on Friday that he likes to be the first wherever. Now, obviously, that run was right in the middle of the line, but if it's out in space, whether it's a screen, a pass, or run, whatever it is, he wants to hustle to the ball, not only in case the ball happens to squirt out and he can jump on a loose ball, but just something he's done since he was a young player.
Wilkins breaking tackles to the 45-yard line. Quentin Nelson is really everywhere you go. You hear people talk about what a terrific young offensive lineman this is.
Well, when you consider, you know, it's great accomplishment to be a first-team All-Pro. He did it as a rookie. He was a first-team All-Pro as a rookie, so he's quickly built the reputation of being one of the best guards, if not the best guard in all of the NFL.
Not the most talkative young man we've ever come across.
No, not the most talkative. You know, you talk to some of his teammates and they say he can get a little goofy and have some fun in the locker room, but he was pretty serious with us.
Sundays, go!
Hoyer. This is Doyle. Doyle, 30. Trying to leap over the defender. That was Bobby McCain going low, and Doyle went high and comes out smiling about it.
Excellent play design by the Colts. He started on one side. As the ball snapped, he went under the other as Doyle tries the hurdle. He'll feel that one in the morning. Adrenaline will cover it up right now. In the morning, he'll be like, gosh, why is my back so sore?
He may feel that at halftime.
Yeah, at halftime, exactly right.
So first down for the Colts now. At the Miami 25. Mack, nowhere to go. And buried back at the 30-yard line by Charles Harris, number 90.
Harris isolated on the edge, just comes down. Nobody touches him. So if you're the play call, if you're Frank Reich, if you're Nick Sirianni up in the booth or on the sideline trying to figure out what to do, and you realize that's happening as this game progresses, if he continues to be that aggressive, then you have to get the bootlegger, the naked, or the quarterback keep around the edge to take advantage of it.
Loss of 3 makes it 2nd and 13. Hoyer goes down back at the 40-yard line. That is Jerome Baker, who got in a hurry.
Earlier on this drive, I talked about what an excellent job the Colts had done picking up Baker on this exact same pressure. This time Mack doesn't see it. He goes to the outside, and Colts are lucky to get the ball back. And you may be sitting at home saying, well, why didn't Hoyer see that? He came right up the middle. It was easy to see. It was right in front of him. Well, as a quarterback, your eyes are upfield, and there's certain guys you're expected to be picked up in pressure, and clearly Hoyer thought that was supposed to be picked up.
And we have a whistle. And Indianapolis has taken their first timeout here in the first half.
30-second timeout.
And we'll take a timeout as well. Back in 30 seconds after this from State Farm. First 6 games, the Colts allowed just 7 sacks. Their last 3 games, including today, they've allowed 10.
Well, if you're the Colts, you're just trying to pick up 5-10 yards, get this closer to even be able to attempt a long field goal.
Third and 26. Hoyer with time, sideline, incomplete. Intended for Zach Pascal and covered by Nick Needham. Let's go back to that sack of Hoyer.
Watch Baker, 55, just shoots right through the A gap. Marlon Mack to the outside. 25 is the one that ends up recovering the fumble. But you could tell by the way the offensive line were blocking things that was Mack, and the way Mack reacted once he saw Baker coming late, that was just a missed assignment. And sometimes they get hidden. You know, Mack was to the outside and probably just didn't see it.
So the Dolphins don't allow the Colts to get into field goal range. And this one hangs up and is caught at the 5-yard line by Ashton Doolin. That is where Miami will start after this. And we remind you, coming up, the Verizon Halftime Report. JB, Phil, Nate, Boomer, Coach Bill Cowers, latest NFL scores and highlights, all coming up on the Verizon Halftime Report. Here are the Dolphins. And they'll start with Balaj, and Balaj stonewalled at the line of scrimmage. We check in with Melanie downstairs.
Well, Greg, we talked to Eric Rowe yesterday about what he thinks the difference has been for this team over the last 4 or 5 games. He said after training camp, those first couple games, everyone was new. They didn't know the offense, defense. They barely knew each other's names. He said, I've known this guy for like a week and a half, and I'm trying to give him calls. So that's going to affect the chemistry. He told us time fixes that, and they've gotten to know each other on a more personal level, and it's translated. They're off to a good start today.
Yeah, Mel, they are. Thank you. And boy, communication was the big word used by the coach in our meetings with him. This is Balaj, and Balaj, not much there for the running game that has gotten so much attention, as we mentioned, in practice this week.
Well, and really both teams focused on it. We even saw and talked with the Colts the fact that on Wednesday they had a padded practice and spent extra time both from a run game standpoint offensively and on the defensive side of the ball.
3rd and 8.
Matt Eberflus, the defensive coordinator for the Colts, trying to get the Dolphins stopped here on 3rd down.
They need the 16-yard line for a first down. Fitzpatrick stands in, throws over the middle, and that is complete. And just at first down yardage is Clive Walford, the 4th-year tight end.
That took every ounce of Fitzpatrick's being not to try and throw it upfield. He wants to throw the ball upfield. Listen, I know, I've watched him enough times. I've been around him enough times. He wants to be aggressive, and that time hitting the check down, and they were able to work his way. Walford was able to work his way and get the first down.
So now Miami from its own 16-yard line. This is Balaj, and Balaj is going to lose yardage on this play. Big number 90, Grover Stewart, making the play on defense there. As we take a look, you know, with his experience, Trent, you got to figure, who is that?
Who's the guy in the turtleneck? What in the world? What's going on? Yeah, those are players drafted 200th or later. You can see Ryan Fitzpatrick closing in on 200, which would be a huge milestone for him.
Fitzpatrick had it batted down at the line of scrimmage. And it'll be 3rd and 12. So how much wear do you get out of that turtleneck these days?
That's a Lamar Hunt thing. That goes all the way back to the beginning for the Chiefs. That's he wanted the players' headshots done in a Chiefs turtleneck. So that was something that has stayed. They still do pictures that way because that's just in honor of Lamar.
So that's still alive for you as a Christmas gift.
That's right.
3rd and 12. Another big down for this Miami offense. Here comes the blitz. Here's the pass downfield on the other side of receiver Devontae Parker, and it's incomplete.
Well, Fitzpatrick knew he had to get rid of that ball because the pressure was coming from his left side. He just had to take the one-on-one matchup, try and put it in a position. Hopefully Parker could see it, make an adjustment, and go get it, but Colts were bringing the heat that time.
So here comes Miami punter Matt Hawk.
Well, the Colts are going to end up in good field position, or should end up in good field position here, so they need to do something with it here to get things going, get some points on the board here before halftime.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by K, where your love story is always the most important one of all. Allstate, reminding you that football season is mayhem. And by KFC, come enjoy our new KFC wings. It's finger-licking good.
With the league celebrating season number 100, some Miami Dolphins greats. Don Shula's 72 Dolphins, the only team to win a Super Bowl with a perfect record. Went on to win the Super Bowl the following season as well. And there is Dan Marino. And the man with the binoculars is Miami owner Stephen Ross. Meanwhile, deep drop for Hoyer. Looks long, throws short. This is Marlon Mack. And Mack brought down at the 45-yard line.
And that's something that Hoyer's always been able to do. He's got the athleticism to move around and buy time in the pocket and even take off and run. He's actually a good runner when he gets out in space. So that time being able to buy time, slide around the pocket after the play fake. So he gets left. He still keeps his eyes upfield, and good job buying time and connecting with Mack.
5-5.
Pickup of 8, 2nd and 2, Indianapolis at the Miami 45. And this is Mack. And Mack cannot spin out of trouble. And the ball still at the 45, so it'll be 3rd and 2.
I'll tell you what, Greg, I've been impressed right now with the Dolphins defense and what they've been able to do. We know we showed some comparisons at the beginning between the first 4 games and the last 4 games, but right now, coming into this game, the Dolphins were giving up 151 yards on the ground per game, and right now the Colts, with this outstanding offensive line, only has 27 yards rushing as we approach halftime.
Edge over there to the right. Yeah. Squeeze. 3-18.
On 3rd and 2, Hoyer under pressure, over the middle, incomplete, just behind his intended receiver, Eric Ebron.
Ebron and Mo Alley Cox were basically on a crossing route, and Doyle was sitting down in the middle. So it almost looked like, based on the eyes of Hoyer, that he was trying to dump the ball in the middle to Doyle.
And no punting unit on the field. The Colts going for it on 4th and 2. Hoyer looks twice, 3 times, now rolling and directing traffic and going for the first down, and he's going to come up short. Looks to be about a yard short. Vince Beagle, Jerome Baker closing on him as he went looking for the first down marker.
Well, and the design of the play was really an all or nothing type of thing. They tried flooding everybody to one side. They were going to leak out and have one guy to the backside and just nowhere to go as the Dolphins got to stop.
Miami takes over on downs.
I want you to keep an eye on Vince Beagle. He's lined up on the end of the line, but it's the Doyle that's going to try sneaking behind the line of the scrimmage. Watch the collision that takes place. The play fake, and Doyle tries getting out to the backside flat. It was an all or nothing type of play. The Colts had ran it earlier in the game, and that time, because of the collision with Beagle and Doyle, they weren't able to execute it properly.
Fitzpatrick got rid of that. Balaj made the catch, but it didn't go for much at all. And we have a penalty marker, our first of the day. It is no coincidence that during the break, we were talking about how there had been no penalties so far today.
Personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense, number 52. 15-yard penalty at the previous spot, automatic, first down.
That's Ben Banagou, the rookie out of TCU. Wow.
Well, that's a little questionable, but I think the fact that he went up around the head and neck, shoulder area, I believe that's probably why it was called. It doesn't look like he took extra steps, but the fact that he went high is probably why it was called.
You really wish you played in this.
I know. I was. Yeah, that was well, the hit that Hoyer took earlier. I told you that would have been knocked out of the game because he would have been lifted and planted.
This is Jakeem Grant around the corner. Tried to make a move, and the pursuit caught up with him. Malik Hooker.
Well, the pursuit caught up with you, and sometimes you just blow a tire. You try and make a move, and whoop, you break your own ankle.
So it's 2nd and 7. Miami now at the Colt 38-yard line.
50. Stick.
Fitzpatrick to the near side of the field. The catch is made by Albert Wilson. Appeared to gain control before he went out of bounds, but not much there.
Well, Matt Eberflus is starting to turn up the heat a little bit. The defensive coordinator for the Colts is deciding to blitz a little bit more. That time, Kenny Moore coming off the slot. That's what forced Fitzpatrick to throw it as quickly as he did. Trying to add some pressure and not let Fitz just stand back there.
3rd and 7. Fitzpatrick on the move, throws, sideline pass, and incomplete. Alan Hearns, the intended receiver. There is a flag down. Hearns was hit hard from behind by Marvell Tell.
Well, Brian Flores and the entire Dolphins sideline is furious that there wasn't a pass interference call. It appeared that he got hit a little bit early.
Holding. Offense, number 63. That penalty's been declined. It's 4th down.
Well, and this is why it's a big deal, because if it's holding and you get the pass interference, it's offsetting, you get to try 3rd down again. Let's see if the contact comes early. Looks like he's there a little bit early, but
Would you throw a flag? Would you challenge it?
There's 63. He's going to be the one that gets called for the holding call. Dieter gets that left arm hooked around the body. And to answer you, Greg, I don't think I would have. I think when you consider, if you look at it in real time, obviously we're looking at it in slow motion. Right. You look at it in real time, that's hard to make that call.
Chester Rogers is deep. Hawk will try to pin the Colts deep. Hangs it up and bounces in the end zone for the touchback. And while we have a pause in the action, we're back in 30 seconds after this from Lowe's. 3:38 to play in the first half. Let's go back to that play in real time.
You know, initially when I saw it in real time, I thought it was pass interference. And you see it in slow motion, you realize just how close it is. The timing of it, the official was right there. He was on top of it. He was within 5 yards of it. So, as I said before, I think it was too close to throw the flag.
This pass is intercepted. Picked off by Bobby McCain. McCain still on his feet and now out of bounds.
This is all on Hoyer. What happens is he's staring down the receiver. He knows where he wants to go, but you have to understand there's a safety in the middle of the field. That safety being right here. Hoyer's vision is going to be here the entire time. So there's no other place to go for McCain than to just run over there and get the interception, especially when the ball was airmailed over the top of Ebron's head. So really it's just the recognition McCain having, seen the vision and where Hoyer was looking the entire time, and then a little bit too much air on the ball, and Dolphins are set up inside the 15.
First 8 games of this season, you see it there. 4 takeaways for the Miami defense, 2 today. From the 12. Fitzpatrick under pressure, breaks free, gonna keep it. And lost the ball as he hit the turf at about the 6-yard line.
It's down by contact before the fumble. 2nd down.
Here's the contact.
Jabal Sheard from behind is hitting Fitzpatrick as he's sliding down, and as a quarterback slides, he's giving himself up before the ball came out.
You gonna call that a slide?
It's so borderline. As you just mentioned a few minutes ago, Greg, there's some new rules.
Balaj cannot break away.
that protect the quarterback, and that's kind of a tweener. It wasn't slide, it was kind of a side roll. But I think the fact that Sheard had touched him, it cleared up any gray area.
So 3rd and 8, and the Dolphins are in hurry-up mode. Coming up on the 2-minute warning. And
that's all they're trying to do. They're trying to hurry up and get them to draw offside for an easy 5.
2 minutes to play in the first half of a defensive battle, 3-0 Dolphins.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Lowe's, official home improvement sponsor of the NFL. And by Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Hey, looking at the 10th annual Great Indy Pet Expo, a local event with contests, family and fun, and Gizmo, the pet skunk. 3rd and 8. Fitzpatrick stepping up, fakes the throw, gonna run to the 5, to the end zone for the touchdown.
He's got sneaky athleticism, Greg, and that was one of the things when talking to the Colts. They said, listen, he doesn't want to run, but when he does, he's athlete enough to where he can make things happen. That time with the pressure coming up the field, the secondary dropping back into the end zone to take away all the passing lanes, the bearded one makes it to the corner into the end zone.
Makes the decision right about there to keep it.
Well, I know they're going to review it. They haven't cleared him yet to kick the extra point. His knees go down before he gets in. It depends on where the ball is when the knees go down. And they've now cleared it.
Yeah. Fitzpatrick, his 2nd rushing touchdown of the season.
Right now, this Colts crowd is shocked.
Ooh.
After the upset last week and the way that happened, the loss to Pittsburgh and then coming in today.
The extra point is good. And once again, the Dolphins cash in on an Indianapolis turnover for the 2nd time today. All 10 points have come off of Colts turnovers. And it's a 10-0 lead with 1:52 to play here in the first half. A reminder, coming up, the Verizon halftime report. JB and Nate and Phil and Boomer and the coach have scores and highlights coming up on the Verizon halftime report. Well, you mentioned at the very top of the day about the improvement of this Miami defense.
Well, they've been much improved. You look at the Colts right now, only 109 yards of total offense, only 28 yards rushing when you consider you have a back like Marlon Mack and the offensive line that came into this game touted as the best in the league, and rightfully so. You've got all 5 guys on the offensive line have started every game this season, and so the pressure now falls on that man right there, Brian Hoyer, getting the opportunity here. They won the toss, the Colts did. They deferred. They get the ball first in the second half. So with 2 timeouts in your pocket, go down, try and get some points, whether it's a field goal or touchdown, get some momentum going into halftime, and then you know you have the ball first coming out after the half.
Nyheim Hines will let this one float through the end zone. We'll start at the 25. We check in with Mel.
Well, guys, Colts center Ryan Kelly comes from a military family. His younger brother, Mike, graduated from the Naval Academy, but is now a U.S. Marine. His 2 grandfathers both served, one in the Navy, that's Melvin Kelly, and the other in the Army, Tom Fertelman. And I spoke to Ryan Kelly on Friday about his brother, Mike. He's stationed out in San Diego now at Camp Pendleton. He said, look, he looked up to me being the younger brother, but what he doesn't know is that because of his service, I look up to him too.
Veterans Day coming up. Nice story, Mel. Thank you. On first down, Hoyer, under pressure, lets it fly and overthrows Chester Rogers, his intended receiver. Second and 10.
Well, the blitz came off the left side. They came with the corner blitz, and the pressure that was brought, you would think usually when the corner comes and you think safety help's coming over that that's the side you're going to go to, but Hoyer wasn't going to fall for it. He looked that way. McCain took off and ran that way. He wasn't going to lay it up the field and throw another interception, so he looked left and then came back to the right, just missed the throw.
On 2nd and 10, Hoyer deep this way and incomplete. Intended for Marcus Johnson, batted down by Ryan Lewis.
Well, the ball was batted down, but there was contact before that happened, and the official reached for the flag but then didn't pull it. A lot of contact as he's trying to. That one I would have thrown. There's just too much contact before it happens. Yes, he cleanly knocks the ball away with the left hand, but it's what he was doing with the right hand that would have gotten the flag.
You think an official sees contact coming from both sides and just decides to just let him play?
I don't know. You could see him reaching to his belt to grab the flag, and then he didn't throw it. So he's the only one that can answer what changed his mind.
3rd and 10. Hoyer hit as he let loose, and the pass is incomplete. And the Boo Birds come out here in Indianapolis. So the punting unit comes on. Miami will get the ball back with 3 timeouts remaining here in the first half.
I'll tell you what, Greg, this is the 3rd time we've had the Colts this season, and I do agree with many of the people out there that talk about this Colts offensive line, but you got to give credit to the Dolphins defense and what they're doing right now, shutting down the run and putting consistent pressure on Brian Hoyer.
Marcus Sherrills tracking this one. And hit hard as he crossed the 30-yard line. So that is where Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Miami offense will go to work with 1:25 on the clock and all 3 timeouts.
Well, and how quickly things change. You just mentioned all 3 timeouts, so now all of a sudden the Dolphins and Ryan Fitzpatrick, they have everything. With 3 timeouts, you can use the whole field. You can utilize and try and take advantage of the Colts and go down and get some points yourself.
And by the way, Brian Flores, quick to point out in our conversation with him, wasn't just a sudden turnaround last week in the win column for them. He says, we've been close in the last 4 or 5 games.
And it's been an ongoing process. He said, listen, we have a plan, we have a method, we're sticking to it. We didn't waver from it when things were going haywire at the beginning of the season. And as you said, Greg, it's starting to pay off.
Ballage. Good open field tackle by Kenny Moore. And they'll use a timeout here. In fact, the Colts call a timeout. Colts have visions of getting the ball back.
That's an aggressive play. That's an aggressive play by Frank Reich, and he's, you know what, he's pushing all of his chips in. He understands how important this game is. We talked to him about it. He said, listen, because of the loss last week against Pittsburgh, everybody thinks the Dolphins are rolling in here with just 1 win. We're not taking them lightly. We're going after this, and there are even some people speculating that, we're going to rest Jacoby Brissett because it's the Dolphins. That's not the way he was thinking. The reason he's resting Jacoby Brissett is because he knows this is a long season, and sometimes you have to protect the player from themselves. But this is a game that is much needed to try and keep pace with the Houston Texans.
2nd and 12. Fitzpatrick. Little short pop over the middle to Devontae Parker. And the Colts use another timeout here. That's their 3rd and final timeout here in the first half.
Well, these are great timeouts by Frank Reich if you get them stopped on 3rd down. If the Dolphins are able to convert this and get the first down, then now you've used your timeouts to help out the Dolphins. So it's a risk-reward type thing, and Frank Reich is betting on his defense to get him off the field here on 3rd down.
You know, we talked with Jacoby Brissett, and he was convinced, he was ready to go on Friday when we talked to him.
You and I were convinced. Yeah. We were at practice on Friday. He took the majority of the first team reps. He was very engaged. We had the opportunity to talk with both Brissett and Brian Hoyer, and the feeling from all of them. So they must have just felt on Saturday's practice and today on Sunday that he wasn't in healthy enough to make it work.
3rd and 6. Fitzpatrick going down. Back at the 32-yard line, Darius Leonard. The clock continues to move. 1 minute to play here in the first half.
Well, that means that the Colts are going to great pressure by the Colts. First off, they rushed 5. They were able to get some pressure. Darius Leonard's the one that brings Fitzpatrick to the ground, but using those 2 timeouts, now no time. And the fact that the Dolphins were able to get completions on 1st and 2nd down, that's what forced the Colts to use the timeout. If Devontae Parker doesn't catch that ball on 2nd down and it hits the turf for an incompletion, then the Colts would have had one in their pocket. But now the Colts get the ball back with they're only going to have about 20 seconds left.
Yeah, half a minute to play right now. Hawk booms it out of there. Chester Rogers at his own 13. And comes up short of the 25-yard line. Tackle is made by Jamal Wiltz.
I wouldn't get too aggressive here, Greg. I'd either run a draw, run a screen, something like that, see if you can't pop it for big yardage. And if you don't, then just go ahead and take it to the half. As we've talked about, you get the ball in the second half as they take a look at Brissett there. Had started off to a fantastic start to the season. You see the touchdown to interception ratio, completion percentage. He's a little antsy there. See him back and forth. He's itching to be out there, and looks like the Colts just going to take a knee.
And they will hear the boos. They come up empty on the scoreboard in the first half here in Lucas Oil Stadium. Ryan Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins able to take advantage of turnovers, and as you see there, been a while. The end of the first half with our score. Miami 10 and the Colts nothing. Halftime is next after these first half highlights from Verizon and a word from your local station. Back here in Indianapolis just a few moments ago, Dwight Freeney officially placed into the Indianapolis Colts Ring of Honor, and what a career he enjoyed with 125 and a half career quarterback sacks. 10-0 Miami is our score. And let's take a look at the first half highlight presented by State Farm. The only touchdown of the day so far. Quarterback Ryan Fitzpatrick decides to run it, and he will beat Kenny Moore to the end zone for the touchdown. Turnovers have cost the Colts, and the Dolphins have taken advantage to the tune of 10 points as they have a 10-0 lead. And welcome back, everyone. Greg Gumbel along with Trent Green. We said it at the very top of the day. Brian Flores said it to us that the defense has been something a little better than average. It's been very good, and it has been today.
Well, and as well as Ryan Fitzpatrick has played, we just saw his touchdown run. He's thrown 17 completions to 9 different receivers. It's been the defense that was shining in the first half. They were able to create turnovers. They were able to stop Marlon Mack. They were able to pressure Brian Hoyer. We're going to take a look at a few plays. A controversial interception, one that was initially thought to be a touchdown, was ruled as an interception, then a fourth down stop to get Hoyer before he got to the sticks, and then McCain coming over the top on an errant throw by Brian Hoyer, setting up the later touchdown run by Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's really been the domination of the defense of the Dolphins that has really stood out.
If you look at these numbers, the season lows in the first half for the Colts, total yards, rushing yards, completions, first downs, that tells you what's been happening to them.
Well, and the Dolphins came in the 31st ranked defense, giving up over 400 yards a game, and as we saw from those stats there, the Colts haven't been able to get anything going. Now it'll be interesting here to see how the second half opens up, because the Colts start with the football. Let's see if they come out with an attack mindset.
Let's go down to Melanie.
Well, Greg, I spoke with Frank Reich first. I said, they're forcing you to throw. How do you adjust? And he said, well, we just have to do a better job protecting Brian Hoyer, winning our one-on-one matchups. He was pleased defensively, though. Then I spoke to Brian Flores. He was thrilled with the first half shutout. He said, we're using good communication. We're playing together. But he wants to get the run game going. He said there's yards to be had. And he told his guys, we can't let up. It is a 60-minute game.
Yeah, that mantra, Melanie, is just, it's all over the place. Got to get the run game going.
Well, and you have to. I mean, that's really what this centers around. Even when Jacoby Brissett was the starting quarterback before his injury, it was based on the run game and getting some play-action pass going.
Hoyer's first pass is incomplete. Intended for Jack Doyle, and Raekwon McMillan was there. It'll be 2nd and 10.
Well, and right now I think the task of Frank Reich is to get Brian Hoyer into some kind of rhythm. 6 of 17 in the first half, or 6 of 17 as after that incompletion right there. So it's it hasn't been a smooth day for Brian Hoyer.
This is Marlon Mack, and Mack is wrapped up shortly after he approached the line of scrimmage by McMillan. Then it'll be 3rd down.
Well, if you're the Colts, you have to find a receiver, and they are missing T.Y. Hilton. They are missing Paris Campbell. You've got to find someone that can win one-on-one. You got to find someone that's going to win in the man-to-man coverage, because if the Dolphins are committing as many guys to the box as they're committing, you have to find someone that's willing or able to win those one-on-one matchups.
3rd and 8.
Hey, space, Ricky. 3-18.
Hoyer over the middle, in and out of the hands of his intended receiver, Eric Ebron. And we have a penalty marker down in the backfield.
Holding, offense, number 33. That penalty's declined. It's 4th down.
Jonathan Williams, the back in the backfield. And Miami will turn that down and force the punt.
That pressure right there, Greg, was very similar to what you'll see from the New England Patriots. Obviously, Brian Flores has a background there. Patrick Graham, the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins, also has a background in Bill Belichick's defense and the types of pressure, the confusion they like to cause with the offensive line, and a lot of similarities. And when you look at the way the Dolphins are playing today, it looks very similar to the way the New England Patriots defense plays as well.
Marcus Sherrills from his own 20 gets it back to about the 29-yard line, where Clayton Gathers makes the stop, and here's a penalty marker again. We are now in official catch-up mode as far as the penalty flags go from the first half.
I think it was a commercial break with about 5 minutes to go in the half when you first mentioned there hadn't been any penalties.
Yeah,
so
blame me.
Player out of bounds on a punt. Kicking team number 16. That 5-yard penalty will be enforced at the dead ball spot. 1st down, Miami. Timeout.
Ashton Doolin, the guilty party for the Indy offense. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Jamie Dimon sits atop America's largest bank, but he's never sat down with 60 Minutes. A wide-ranging interview about the economy, the president, and the American wealth gap, only on 60 Minutes tonight. Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins from their own 34. Play fake. And down he goes. Justin Houston hit him, and hit him hard.
I'll tell you what, Justin Houston exploded through. That's the 5th game in a row that Justin Houston has got a sack. Jamarcus Webb just sets up outside, thinking it's going to be an outside pass rush, and Houston jumps to the inside, takes that inside lane, and as a quarterback, that's the worst place you can get beat, is to the inside, because there's nowhere to escape.
On 2nd and 16, Balaj looking for running room. And there's a flag down. Clay Martin checking with the Colts bench.
Holding against the Dolphins, they'll either make it 2nd and really long.
Holding.
Or
offense, number 81. 10-yard penalty, replay, 2nd down.
Interesting, could have been 3rd and 11, but instead they're moving them back further.
Dolphins guilty of their first penalty of the game. So now it's 2nd and 26. Now we know what really long is in Trent Green's world.
I couldn't do the math that quick. I was like, okay, we're just going to go with
do not look over here.
We're just going to go with really long.
Fitzpatrick had it tipped at the line of scrimmage, and that's happened a couple of times today. Let's check in with Melanie.
Well, Greg, there have been a lot of low points for Miami this season, but one of the high points is they're the most disciplined team in the NFL. They have the fewest penalties. They just got their first one of the game, and that's in thanks to part to Brian Flores' TNT wall at the practice facility. It stands for takes no talent, and when something happens in practice that takes no talent, for example, a false start, the perpetrator and the entire position group, coaches included, have to run down and touch the wall and run back for the next play. He told us those are the areas in which you win games, doing the things that take no talent.
Melanie, thank you. A couple of guys might hold a grudge or two after a while at those practices.
Well, and that's the thing. He was pretty adamant upon it. He's like, everybody talks about skill set and the skills that players have, and that's a very important part of it, he goes, but we want to make sure that the part of the game that takes no talent, that we're really, really good at, because making those mental mistakes can
Delay
cost
game.
you.
Offense, 5-yard penalty, third down.
And as a Bill Belichick disciple, it's no surprise that he pays tremendous amount of attention to detail.
Well, and that's true. And just to give you an example of that, just what happened right there. Instead of taking the timeout, he realizes how important those timeouts are going to be as this game moves along. So instead of taking the timeout on a 3rd and 26, go ahead and take the 5-yard penalty, make it 3rd and 31, understanding that the probability of making it that down on distance, you could save that timeout.
They'll give it to Balaj, and Balaj can't shake the tackler at the 15-yard line. And that was Kerry Willis coming up from the secondary.
I think the two things that he talked about most were communication. Maybe 10 times, double digits, he used the word communication in our conversation with him last night. But then also just the attention to detail. And I think those are the two things that he's harped on, even from the very beginning, when all the trades were happening and the changes were made to the roster right at the beginning of the season. He said, stick with your method, stick with your plan. We believe in what we're doing, and we're not going to make any excuses. We just have to get these guys ready, and that's why they've played better football the last month.
Chester Rogers at his own 30. Cuts inside one tackler, can't shake the second, and he's brought down at about the 37-yard line. And that's where they will start when we come back.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Jaguar E-Pace. Best Buy. Let's talk about what's possible. And by Corona Extra. Find your beach.
Nice look here in Indianapolis. Cool temperatures today. Snow expected in the area tomorrow. Here are the Colts from their own 37. And they'll start it with Mack on the ground, and Mack with a bust up the middle. Into Miami territory. Brought down by McCain and Rowe. And a first down.
Well, there's that crease that the offensive line created. And Mack, there was no hesitation as he just goes right in between Nelson and Costanzo, right through the middle. No dancing, no looking to make a cut.
19-yard pickup, first down. This is Jordan Wilkin. And it'll be second down. Brian Hoyer. You said earlier how Frank Reich is trying to find a rhythm for him.
Well, and you need to. I mean, obviously it's going to be great if you can get Marlon Mack runs like that, but there hasn't been any consistency with the running game, and you've got to get more consistent quarterback play, and that starts with Brian Hoyer.
Quick pass to Hines, and Hines looking for first down yardage, and he's got it.
Well, and that's a perfect call as a play caller. Make a nice, easy, just swing out of the backfield, get the ball upfield, get out in space, get into some kind of rhythm. Quick little pass, play fake pass, and after having 8 straight incompletions, that was much needed by the Colts offense.
B55.
First down now at the Miami 31. Wilkins off the left side with running room and still going to the 20. That is another Colt first down. We talk about adjustments that have to be made at halftime. Are we seeing one here, the Colts?
Well, you can see what the mission is right now. It's our two best linemen, Costanzo and Nelson, are on the left-hand side. Let's run behind them. Mack had the big run, 19 yards to that side. That time there, where to go? To the left again.
This is Mack. And Mack cannot shake John Jenkins. So they'll lose yardage on that play. It'll be second down.
And John Jenkins said, enough of that. I know they're going to run to the left, so I'm going to overcommit and get into the backfield. Great execution on his part.
Loss of 3 on the play. 2nd and 13. This Miami team has not been spectacular starting out the second half as far as scoring goes. So they admittedly come out flat a lot. Straight drop pass over the middle. Wide open is Eric Ebron. Ebron to the 10. And it'll be first and goal.
It's almost like Brian Hoyer had a conversation with Frank Reich or maybe even Nick Sirianni over on the sideline and just said, okay, let's get back to make this thing simple. We're going to hit the swing out of the backfield. We're going to get the run game and just go right downhill. It's not a lot of trick stuff. The wide play is the one that got tackled for loss. And then that time, just clear out the right side, drag Ebron underneath. Don't force anything. Just take the nice, easy completion. And now you get inside the 10.
Here's Mack. Look to the left side, cut it back to the middle. Got about 3. It'll be second and goal. Second trip to the red zone for this Colt offense. First time down, they were intercepted. Here's how those second halves have begun this season for Miami. Just 3 points total compared to 57 from their opponents.
Liz, go. And 18.
Hoyer lobs it into the end zone, incomplete. Intended for Mo Alley Cox, and it'll be third and goal.
Mo Alley Cox isolated on the left side and put it in only the place that he could get it. Jerome Baker had Hines on that swing route and was able to fall back and get a hand, pushing Alley Cox away from where the football was.
So what do? Go back to running behind the left side of that line?
Well, this is third down. I think you got to try and take a shot. Once again, you got, looks like you got Ebron and Doyle to the left.
Hoyer will come to this side, incomplete. Nyheim Hines, the intended receiver, looking for a penalty flag, covered by Jamal Wilt.
So Hines just working underneath, trying to make it look like he was going to do a cross route and then changing direction and getting to the outside before the ball's knocked away, forcing the Colts into a field goal attempt.
And here is Adam Vinatieri. Has struggled a bit this season. Frank Reich said he's not at all worried. This is a 25-yarder to get Indy on the board, and it is good. 7:50 to play in the third, and for the first time all day, the Colts hit the scoreboard. 7:50 to play in the third. 10-3 Miami. 56-yard drive in 10 plays, just over 4 minutes in duration, and Adam Vinatieri, that man right there, 46 years of age in his 24th NFL season, the 25-yard field goal. Jakeem Grant will not run this one back, and we'll start from the 25-yard line. And as we've been telling you every week, this is season number 100 in the NFL, and one of the great pass rushers in the history of the game, Dwight Freeney, had a legendary career with the Colts. 11 years for Indy, 107.5 sacks, second most in franchise history. Retired as a Super Bowl champ. Also selected to 7 Pro Bowls.
He was a beast. I tell you what, it was no fun playing against him. Bob Sanders, that defense, Mathis on the other side, it was caused all kinds of problems.
That pass is incomplete. We have it on good authority that that he got you a couple of times here and there.
Yeah, he did. That would have been in a playoff game. Both of these were in a playoff game. So
the 06 AFC wildcard game. Forced to fumble once, sacked you twice.
Thanks for that.
What a wonderful reunion for you.
Oh, well, that's why I had a hard time. Freeney and all of his teammates are here doing this halftime celebration, and I'm giving the kind of the courtesy clap because I'm like, man, they caused me a lot of pain. I don't know if I want to clap for them, but I got to respect the game, so I definitely did give them a clap. Those were some great teams, and
it's not that he was a slouch either.
Oh, he was a great player. Had a chance to get to know him. Played in a couple Pro Bowls with him, so got to be around him and his work ethic and that spin move one of the all-time classic spin moves in NFL history.
What a team he and Robert Mathis on each side, right? You don't know. Pick your poison. Here's a 3rd and 9 for Fitzpatrick and the Dolphins. Fitzpatrick escapes, goes up the middle, fakes the pass, and dives for the first down. Let's see where they mark him down. He is looked to be about a half a yard short.
Yeah, and I know the ball came down past the line to gain, but it was when his knees came down. So I think that's a good spot by the officials without seeing a slow-mo replay, but it appears that it was a short. He gave a little pump fake to the left, trying to draw their attention away. Yep. Excellent spot by the officials. Good communication and getting the spot right.
And Brian Flores will send his punting unit onto the field.
He's done it time and time again today where he's been able to sneak through the pressure and extend the play. That time just coming up a little bit short.
And they get a delay of game.
Delay a game. Offense. 5-yard penalty. 4th down.
Let's go back and look at where that knee came down.
Well, it's not quite. There it is. Contact to the ground. So good spot right there on the 29-yard line where they have the ball placed.
So it's 4th and 6. And Hawk will kick it away to Chester Rogers. Good kick by Hawk. Drives Rogers back inside the 10. Penalty markers are down, and it takes a Colt bounce before it is downed at about the 18-yard line. But let's check the flag on the far side of the field.
Well, there's a couple flags. One's on the far sideline, one's in the middle of the field.
You look at Brian Flores on the side. It's like I don't like the sound of this. I don't like the looks of this. And an extended conversation.
Well, he's got to be happy with the way his team's playing today, and Frank Reich is not happy at all with the way his team's playing today. So, but as they both told us, it's about finishing the game.
Play, unsportsmanlike conduct, kicking team number 35. Personal foul, unnecessary roughness, receiving team number 42. Those penalties offset at the previous spot. We'll replay 4th down.
So we're going to bring it all the way back to the other end of the field. Let's just say if there was a wall out here, Brian Flores would have somebody running to it.
Yeah, he can't be happy with that.
So we'll re-kick it. Matt Hawk would love to get off a kick like he just did.
I was going to say, now he's got to try and duplicate the one that he just had. And
meanwhile, the football is still sitting back at the 18-yard line and only now just getting picked up.
I think what it was, because it was offsetting, they came over and talked to Frank Reich. So my guess is Reich had the ability to say offset and keep it where the ball was ended up, or have him re-kick. That would be the only reason why they were asking Frank Reich what he wanted, and they just made the announcement that they selected to have it re-kicked.
Yeah.
So
Frank feeling it couldn't be much worse than that.
He wants to see him try and make a punt like he did on the previous one. That was a heck of a punt by Hawk.
This one not quite as high, not quite as deep. And Rogers at the 30. Coming this way, 40, 45, out of bounds, just across midfield. Right decision by Frank Reich.
That's a 31-yard difference.
Great field position for the Colts, who trail by a touchdown.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Verizon, the network more people rely on. And by Voya Financial, helping you to and through retirement.
Hey, these are members of our traveling CBS crew. 2 nights ago, they like to have a good time. The other night, they headed over to a place called Bad Axe Throwing here in Indianapolis. And no matter what the outcome is, I think you and I are going to be a lot nicer to them than we ever were before.
There was a reason why they didn't want an axe in one of our hands, right?
Very respectful of them. First down at the Miami 49.
Sundays, go!
Marlon Mack tripped up before he could get going, gets about a yard, maybe 2 on the play. It'll be second down.
Colts finally got on the board the last series with the field goal, now trying to take advantage of this great field position.
When you look at the difference in field position, you know why Brian Flores wasn't real happy with the do-over on the punt. This is Mack again. And Mack, with good push from the offensive line, gets it down to the 38-yard line, and that's enough for an Indianapolis first down. Check in with Melanie.
Well, guys, we know the Colts are down a couple of receivers today. Now they're down a running back. Jordan Wilkins has a left ankle injury. The athletic trainers worked on it for about 5 minutes down here, but ultimately decided that he could not go. So he's been ruled out for the remainder of this game.
Melanie, thank you. And now, Jerome Baker walking slowly off the field for the Miami Dolphins.
Well, and Baker came up limping a little bit after the first down play. He's not able to make it off the field as he stopped before even getting to the sideline.
Two Ohio State linebackers in the middle of that defense for the Dolphins with Baker and Raekwon McMillan.
Well, we had Baker in meetings last night. It just, what a great enthusiasm he just brings to the game and having fun. And he talked about his relationship with McMillan, obviously going back to their days at Ohio State. Raekwon coming in that rookie year, tearing the ACL and missing that entire season, but last year coming back and having over 100 tackles a year ago, and two of them making a good young nucleus of the middle of that Dolphins defense.
Well, it's certainly never good if a player can't reach a sideline before having to stop and get a second breath. But Baker up on his feet and walking off under his own power.
Well, and it initially happened, I'll go back to it again. It initially happened after the first down play, and he stayed in the game on second down and probably could just tell something wasn't right. So that's encouraging to me if he was able to stay in and play it down before eventually admitting it wasn't right, and now he's going under the tent.
Meanwhile, first down for the Colts at the Miami 38. The fake to Mack. Hoyer with time, and that pass completed and immediately hit was Zach Pascal after making the catch.
Well, that was sorry, Greg, go ahead.
Gain of 3, 2nd and 7.
That was a play that we've seen many times from the Colts. Marcus Johnson was out to the outside left. He was just running a deep post to clear out the safety and clear out that backside corner. They're trying to get Doyle on the deep crossing route. It's just the Dolphins were aware of it. They collisioned him and never really allowed him to get into stride. So Hoyer had no choice but to try and hit the check down.
The pitch for Mack. Looking for his blockers, waiting for blockers, and then bursts through to about the 24-yard line. Bobby McCain with the stop, but that's enough for a first down.
This is the best patience that Mack has shown today. Costanzo gets out in space. You see Kelly gets out and pulls around. Mack, instead of taking off and getting ahead of his blockers, he showed great patience, allowing them to get connection, to get impact, point of impact, and then when the lane presented itself, he was able to burst for the first down.
On first down, this is Nyheim Hines And Hines ducks inside the 20 to the 19. Clock continues to move as we come up on 3 minutes to play here in the third quarter.
And Melanie just got done telling us that Wilkins was out of the game, and really he was the guy that you would come in for Mack to balance that run attack. Hines is more of the third down passing game guy that comes in, and so the fact that they put Hines in to get a carry, he's hadn't had a lot of carries this season.
Yeah, Hines has more pass receptions than rushing attempts out of the backfield. Jonathan Williams is there now. Williams gets the handoff, bumps into a lineman, and rolls forward to about the 14-yard line. That's enough for a first down, I believe. It is.
Well, and that's Williams' first carry of the season, so you could see with Wilkins out of the game, now Williams with an opportunity, and that time following that offensive line, able to get a first down.
First down at the 16-yard line as we come up on 2 minutes to play here in the third quarter. Williams still in the backfield. Williams again, and this time he is nailed behind the line of scrimmage. Sam McGuavin, I believe, first-year linebacker out of Texas Tech.
Well, he does an excellent job because Quentin Nelson tries pulling from that left guard position. They want to come off the edge. Watch off the edge here. You're going to see him even from the outside. He's coming out. He's trying to kick out, but he gets around the edge. He's the one that comes into motion right at the last second. You see Nelson. He comes in. He comes over and pulling to lead block and just not able to make a connection.
So it's 2nd and 13. Hoyer gonna lob it for the end zone, incomplete. Pascal there, and so is cornerback Nick Needham. It'll be 3rd and 13. You know, you were talking about Quentin Nelson. That's one of his strong points. You've always talked about how quick he is and athletic for an offensive lineman, and gets out there as quickly and beats his blockers.
We could see time after time where they utilize him and put him into space as we see Jerome Baker come back on the field. But Nelson, not only can he be one of those bulldozers where you just push the pile and downhill blocking, but they utilize him a lot in the screen game and the counter game where they pull them out into space. That time just not able to make the connection on the block.
Timeout. Miami, their first 30-second timeout.
So the Dolphins take a timeout here with 1:13 to play in the third quarter, and Indianapolis looking at a 3rd and 13. What do you got, Trent?
You know what? We're going to go green a little bit. Show a run with Marlon Mack and Quentin Nelson. This is the play that we're talking about. This is what they were just trying to do. They pull Quentin Nelson out into space, and Marlon Mack has the patience, and like I said, the athleticism of Nelson allows them to do this. We had the chance to talk with him on Friday, and I said, would you rather do the downhill blocking or get out in space? Because they utilize you in the screen game, the counter game quite a bit. And of course, like a typical offensive lineman, he's like, I like downhill blocking better. So
I like running people over.
I said, what about those little corners that come up when you're pulling out in space and they always try and chop you? And he goes, yeah, that's what they usually do. That's what they usually do.
I can't imagine they bother him.
Right.
Snap infraction. Offense, number 78. 5-yard penalty, 3rd down.
That's on the center, Ryan Kelly. Quentin Nelson is in his 2nd season out of Notre Dame. He's 6'5", 330 pounds. Third and 18. Hoyer to this side of the field, complete and out of bounds is Hines. And let's see what Frank Reich is going to do here. Here comes the field goal unit.
Well, and the crowd's not happy, but Brian Hoyer had no choice. He had to get rid of the ball. The pressure was right there. Yes, he wanted to take patience and look up the field, but not enough time. As you can see Frank Reich shaking his head. He knows what's going on. He played the position for a long time. So
this will be a 39-yard attempt by Vinatieri. And it is good. 38 seconds to play. The Colts creep 3 points closer. 10-6 Miami. We got an update. Let's go to New York. JB and Coach Cowher.
The other valuable Aaron.
That's Aaron Jones. His third rushing touchdown of the day comes on his 13-yard run. He's got 11 on the year. Green Bay over Carolina 21-10.
Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, and Melanie Collins.
All right, guys, thank you.
You know Coach was going to talk about a running play. You think they're going to go to a highlight and have Coach Cowher talk about some fancy passing play? No, it's going to be a downhill. He wants that action.
Passing is only what you do when you're tired of running for a while.
Oh, yeah.
So Miami's still in the lead. This time it's by 4, 10-6, with just over half a minute remaining here in the third quarter, and Jakeem Grant awaits the kick upcoming from Sanchez.
And Greg, it was another excellent job by the Dolphins defense. We know the first punt went down to the 19-yard line. They made them re-punt. The Colts got the ball right at midfield and only gave up a field goal to the Colts.
This one will not be returned, and we'll start at the 25-yard line. Gives us a moment to remind you, Saturday, it's an SEC on CBS doubleheader. Beginning at noon Eastern time, 10th-ranked Florida making a visit to Missouri, followed by a huge matchup between number 6 Georgia, number 11 Auburn. The SEC is on CBS.
That was a decent SEC game yesterday CBS had, huh? Talk about some excitement.
How many times do players walk into our meetings wanting to know the score of the college football game is?
Every single one, coaches included. They wanted to know if we had any kind of update.
Miami has had 3 consecutive 3-and-outs trying to rectify that, and this is Kalen Ballage. And Ballage crossed the 30 to the 31-yard line. And let's see if they will have time to run a play. It looks like they'll make the attempt.
Well, they did this before the 2-minute warning to try and get a cheap 5 yards and didn't get him to bite.
Oh, that Ryan Fitzpatrick is so predictable.
That's what we call it. Yes.
Time expires.
They're having a conversation.
It's like stand-up down there. We've played 3, 10-6 Dolphins. Along with our producer, Ken Mack, our director, Suzanne Smith, Greg Gumbel, Trent Green, Melanie Collins as we start the fourth. 10-6 Dolphins with the lead and the ball. 2nd and 4. Fitzpatrick throws the interception at the 35-yard line. Darius Leonard with the ball. Darius Leonard to the end zone.
No, they're bringing it back. There's 2 officials marking it down, but
call him down at the 35-yard line.
Al-Qadim Muhammad, got to give him credit.
Ruling on the field was an interception, but that the intercepting player's forward progress was stopped at this spot. It's first down, Indianapolis.
So he'll be marked down at the 35-yard line. Let's go back and take a look at it in real time and listen for the whistle.
Well, Al-Qadim Muhammad and Marcus Hunt were the ones that put pressure as Fitzpatrick tries to get to the backside. Well, to me, it sounded like the whistle was blowing as he was running towards the end zone.
The turnover gives the Colts the ball at the Miami 34. Hoyer. That pass is complete. Inside the 25, that's complete to Marcus Johnson. Gene Steratore, what'd you see?
There is that moment of time, guys, when officials know they have to give the player an opportunity to break free. But once that little window of time is spent in their minds, they come in then and blow. That's why the whistle will feel late. But listen, if we let those plays go on too long, unnecessary contact and people coming in to blow other players up can occur. So that's why it's a little delayed, but then they have to go right to that whistle and rule progress.
So, Gene, you're saying that they'll come in and mark it with their foot. They'll have the spot marked, and as they're coming to do that, that's when the whistle blows. So that's why sometimes, and as we heard on this play, there was a little bit of delay when that happened.
That's exactly right, Trent. And one of the things we always said on the field is whistles don't always kill plays. Okay, so we don't want to have too quick of a whistle for the fear of having an inadvertent whistle. So they will come in late at times with whistles to finish the plays up.
All right, Gene Steratore, thank you much. The pass over the middle is complete, and close to the 10-yard line is Chester Rogers. And you can tell the Indianapolis Colts are feeling it right now.
Well, 2 first downs in a row, and crowd's getting into it a little bit, and they got an opportunity. They could get a first down if they get it down inside the 1-yard line.
By the way, Jerome Baker is back onto the field for the Miami defense. First down from the 11.
Come in there easy. We're going Lance. 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 Here we go.
Hey, single 5-5, single 5-5.
Sunday, go.
Mack trying to turn the corner, does, gets inside the 10 to the 9. McMillan and Wilkins on the tackle. It'll be 2nd and 7. But once again, those frustrations for the Miami Dolphins in the third quarter continue. 3 points in the third quarter all season long. They were scoreless in the third today.
Hey, 5-2.
And they have yet to get a first down in the second half. Hines to the 7.
So what that tells me, we'd spent a lot of time talking about Brian Flores and the defense of the Dolphins and what they've been able to do with the Colts, but how about the Colts defense, what they've been able to do? Quick adjustments. They had to deal with some turnovers. Their defense did, and now the defense comes up with a big interception by Darius Leonard and puts the offense in position to try and take the lead.
At the 8-yard line, Hoyer to this side. Reaching for the end zone and not getting there is Nyheim Hines.
Well, he's not getting there, but I think it's enough to get the first down. It's going to be close. All he had to do was get it to the one where the front of the ball got to the 1-yard line. A little bit behind. See where his knee goes down, extends the ball.
And they will go for it right here. Easy pass, easy touchdown, Jack Doyle.
Smart decision by the Colts. Don't let the Dolphins make an adjustment. Don't let the Dolphins make a challenge on the spot. It was marked as a first down. So instead of giving any kind of time for the Dolphins to potentially look at some replays up in the booth, they go ahead, get to the line quickly in the bunch formation. Doyle goes to the flat with man-to-man coverage by the Dolphins. You and I talk all the time, picks, rubs, whatever you want to call it. Doyle was free out in the flat for the touchdown.
Third touchdown catch of the year for Doyle. Vinatieri. He missed it. Vinatieri hooked it to the left. He is now 14 of 20 in point after touchdown attempts. So off of the interception, the touchdown pass to Jack Doyle for the first time all day. The Colts in the lead, 12-10.
After the touchdown pass from Hoyer to Doyle, we take a look at the extra point. This is the 6th miss of extra points on the season for Vinatieri. And as you can tell by that hold, a lot was made a week ago on the missed field goal with him kicking the laces. That time the laces were forward.
It's 11 missed kicks this season. That's most since his rookie year back in 1996 when he also missed 11. And it's just very uncharacteristic of one of the steadiest kickers the game has ever seen.
It's very uncharacteristic. You know, we had the Colts week 1 in the loss to the Chargers. He had 2 missed field goals and missed extra point. But you have to remember, week 5, the win over Kansas City, he has 4 for 4 on field goals. He had 13 of their 19 points as they pulled off the upset in Arrowhead. And then week 8 in Denver, a 55-yarder at the end of the half, a 51-yarder with 22 seconds left to win the game. We all know what happened last week against Pittsburgh. the loss there with a chance to win it at the buzzer, and we'll see if the missed extra point comes back to haunt them with only a 2-point lead here in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, 11 and a half to play in the fourth, plenty of time. Fitzpatrick gonna throw it, and threw it behind Alan Hearns on the slant. It'll be 2nd and 10. Just a reminder for you, coming up after the game time permitting, the State Farm postgame show. JB and the guys in New York with scores and highlights coming up on the State Farm postgame show.
That was a big missed opportunity. Hearns was in the middle of the field. If he catches that slant, with the number of guys that were at the line of scrimmage, there was nobody on the backside. If he catches that and runs out the backside.
Fitzpatrick to Balaj, out of the backfield, and he's run out of bounds at about the 26-yard line. So it'll be 3rd down.
I know we have a big 3rd down coming up, but watch this slant right here. They're not on the same page. They don't connect. But if he catches this,
oh my goodness,
there's nobody back here. The entire backside of the field, a quick little 5-yard slant throw could be very big. Now big 3rd down for this Colts defense as the crowd tries to get into it.
3rd and 9. Fitzpatrick under pressure, shakes it, throws, and complete across the 35 to about the 38-yard line to Devontae Parker. And that's a 1st down.
Incredible job by Fitzpatrick as he just climbs up in the pocket. Justin Houston has a chance for the sack. Jabal Sheard is begging the officials for a holding call, but Fitzpatrick buying time, stepping up, slides over, keeps his eyes upfield, and makes a 1st down throw.
First down of the 2nd half for the Miami Dolphins.
Hey, Benny, three some mic.
Now from the 39. Balaj. Nothing there, maybe even lost a yard.
Nothing there because Jabal Sheard, what he did to Jesse Davis, he just jumped right around him. Davis basically blocked air on that one, and Sheard was in position to make the tackle.
Loss of 1 makes it 2nd and 11.
Sheard was still hot from the previous down on 3rd down where he thought he was held.
Fitzpatrick over the middle, and he finds his man. That is Parker. And Parker to the 40-yard line of the Colts.
Parker isolated, taking advantage of cover 2. In cover 2, there's a gap there. If you run those dig routes, those inside routes, you can find a lane between the linebackers, and that time Fitz put a lot of zip on it to hit that seam.
Spread the field. Fitzpatrick hit as he was throwing, and that falls incomplete.
Justin Houston once again, the one that got pressure on Fitzpatrick, and no room for Fitzpatrick to throw back as you see the arm come into contact with Houston's shoulder pad.
You know, these close games are right in the Colts' wheelhouse. All 8 of their games this season have been decided by 7 points or less.
Hey, easy, alert! Alert! 50 some mic.
This is Balaj. Balaj trying to get outside, dragged down on the far side by Kerry Willis. 7 points or less to start a season, and the Colts at 8. And by the way, the matchups between these two teams, the Colts have won 6 of the last 7 games against the Dolphins, and the last 7 games have been decided by 6 points or less.
Hey, Greg, if they make any yardage here at all, I think they go for it on 4th down. So I don't think this is an all or nothing type of play, as long as they don't lose yardage. If they get anything moving forward, I think they go for it on 4th down.
3rd and 8, Colts fans on their feet. Fitzpatrick throwing to the sideline. That is complete for a 1st down. Mike Gesicki with the catch.
Gesicki matched up with the rookie Kari Willis, the 4th round pick out of Michigan State. You see the outside leverage that Willis had, but he bit he bit on the inside move that Gesicki gave him. He gave him a hard step to the inside, and he was in perfect position with that outside leverage, but he bit on it. He bit on it, and that allowed Gesicki to get to the outside and the accurate throw from Fitzpatrick.
On first down, this is Ballage, no place to go. Colt defense stacks it up on that side. It'll be second down. Clock continues to move, 7:40 to play here in the fourth quarter.
You just showed how many close games the Colts have. This thing's shaping up to come right down to the wire. Again.
Fitzpatrick on 2nd and 9. Over the middle, too high. Intended for Gesicki, and it falls incomplete. It'll be 3rd and 9.
And that just shows you the toughness of Fitzpatrick. He realized the pressure was coming. He realized he had man-to-man coverage. He stood in there as long as he could and tried firing it, but just a little high.
And we have a holding call.
Penalty, replay, second down.
Against the Dolphins. Jamarcus Webb, the left tackle.
Well, it's important to note on the season, Jason Sanders, the kicker for the Dolphins, is 5 of 5 when his field goals are under 40 yards, but he's only 1 of 5 when it's 40 yards or more. So that holding penalty was big for the Dolphins.
2nd and 19. Fitzpatrick has to pull it down, and he's going to go down at about the 35-yard line. Jabal Sheard, the first to reach him. So what do you dial up here?
Well, I think you just need to try and get something that's going to get you a good 10 yards. I don't know if you necessarily need to get the whole chunk, but you've got to make something a little bit closer to give Sanders a little bit more of a chance.
Ballage in the backfield with Fitzpatrick. 3rd and 19. They give it to Ballage. And Ballage to the 30.
And that's what that play call tells me right there, Greg. They knew the Colts were in deep coverage. They were in soft quarter coverage, and then they had the linebackers deep. They weren't going to give up anything that was going to come close to getting the first down. So conservative call, but good call.
And Jason Sanders comes out looking to give the Dolphins the lead.
Well, that was a smart decision by Chad O'Shea, the offensive coordinator, just get them in position for this field goal attempt.
From 48 yards. Looks pretty good. Sanders is perfect right down the middle. 13-12 Miami. 5:45 to play.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by Walmart. Save money, live better. Sonic. This is how you Sonic. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Great shots of the Colts 2006 Super Bowl winning team. Tony Dungy, Peyton Manning, and the Colts beat the Bears in Super Bowl 41 in Miami. This kick will not be returned. And Gene Steratore joins us from his perch in New York, where, Gene, you spotted something on that last offensive play.
Yeah, we did, Greg. Grover Stewart breaks free inside and has an inside rush on Ryan Fitzpatrick and makes heavy contact to his helmet area. You know, you have to remember that a quarterback is a defenseless player after he throws a football, and that contact to the head or neck area should have warranted a foul for roughing the passer.
All right, Gene, thank you. So here are the Colts down 1, 5:45 to play. Hoyer on the move, throws, intercepted. Picked off by Nick Needham.
Well, it's important to note on that play Gene was talking about, that would have been an offsetting penalty because that was the holding call that was called as well that moved him back. But now all of a sudden moving forward, Hoyer coming out on the bootleg, trying to hit the crossing route on the backside. Third interception of the day.
Boy, did Needham close in a hurry.
He did. He had fallen behind. It looked like he slipped a little bit initially. And
7 Colts turnovers, their first 7 games of the season, 6 in their last 2, including this one. And the third pick of the day for Brian Hoyer.
Well, and that missed extra point by Vinatieri is going to be something. If they all of a sudden go down and get a field goal, now all of a sudden if you're the Colts, you have to get a touchdown.
We got a whistle.
Lots of time left in this game, though.
Oh, yeah.
Colts have 3 timeouts and the 2-minute warning. Dolphins sitting on their 2 timeouts. Big difference, though, between if they're able to get some points here to for the Colts ultimately trying to tie it up or take the lead.
There have been a few surprises around the NFL today.
Has been kind of a shake-up day around the league, hasn't it?
Ask the Chiefs. Ask
The
the
game
Bills.
has been stopped for a medical timeout.
So, whomever that might affect.
They may be taking out Fitzpatrick.
The hit to the helmet?
The hit to the helmet.
Fitz clearly doesn't agree with it and is going to get to the tent as quickly as he can, but that means Josh Rosen, the second-year quarterback out of UCLA. And Ryan needs to realize the quicker he gets into the tent, the quicker he can come back.
Well, and you wonder if somebody up in the booth must have called down and after seeing that replay, because there were several plays that he was in after this hit. This was the hit that he took. That was the holding call that was called on that play. But then he ultimately ended up having another snap after that.
And you saw Brian Flores on the sideline basically saying, you mean CBS is to blame for this? Balaj. Inside the 35 to the 34.
Fitzpatrick's trying to get out. So they're trying to get, I'm sure they're trying to get the independent neurotrauma consultant. Yes, the red visor just went in, so that's who he is. He's independent from the team, so they needed him to make the evaluation before they could clear him to get him back on the field. The thing the Dolphins are mad about it is that was a long time ago. There was another play they ran after that. Then there was the field goal. Then there was the kickoff. And then the interception. So there was a lot of time.
This is Laird, and Laird to about the 30. And Brian Flores clearly upset on the sideline, and Ryan Fitzpatrick not too thrilled with it either. As you would expect a player to be who's in the midst of the battle.
Yes. I've been through concussion protocol quite a bit. I was knocked out twice. So it's, believe me, you're not going to win that battle. It's better to just go and let them do their tests. It's for the protection of the player. Listen, it's done for the right reasons. But as a competitor, you don't ever want to leave the game.
On 3rd and 6, this is Laird, and Laird going nowhere. And no doubt this whole thing has affected the way.
Oh, the play calling?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And whether or not it's a trust factor of Josh Rosen or not, the fact is he's been standing around for 3 hours. You can grab the ball and make a couple little throws, but still in this situation, standing around, hey, guess what? Now we need you to pick up a 3rd and 6 and deal with the pressure. So not a big surprise to hand it off.
So here's Sanders from 48 yards. He was good from 47 and 48 earlier. The kick on its way and looks really good. 3:32 to play, 3:31 to play in regulation. And the Dolphins stretch their lead to 16-12. We remind you, coming up after the game, time permitting, the State Farm post-game show. JB and the gang in New York with scores and highlights coming up on the State Farm post-game show. Just a few moments ago, Ryan Fitzpatrick trying to get out of that blue tent as fast as possible and get back to the field, only to find out that it was 4th down and there's no need to come in. You know, Ryan understands the protocol as well as anyone and knows why he had to do it. It's just a frustration on his part.
It is frustrating, and I can understand. You know, we saw Brian Flores after the field goal was made. He had 4 officials around him, and he was giving them the riot act, and rightfully so. I understand the rule is in place for the protection of the player. It was just the amount of time between that hit and when they actually had him pulled in for an evaluation.
So the Colts will start from their own 25-yard line, and let's remember once again the missed extra point by Adam Vinatieri. This would be a 3-point game rather than a 4-point game.
Yeah, instead of just needing a field goal to tie it up and try and extend this game, now you need to go down and get a touchdown to take the lead. Up and down season for one of the best kickers, if not the best kicker in NFL history.
So the Colts down 4, 3.5 minutes on the clock, and all 3 of their timeouts. Hoyer, this side of the field, incomplete. Nice play made by Needham. Pascal, the intended receiver.
How about the aggressiveness the Dolphins show? 1st down, instead of sitting back, and they just decide to come with the blitz. Baker blitzes up the middle. They're in man-to-man coverage. Very aggressive call on 1st down.
Ricky Lucy 4-9.
2nd and 10. Marlon Mack looked like he had a decent head of steam and room to run, and then tripped up.
Tripped up by the turf monster. He was mad at himself down on the ground. It was, watch as he gets through the line of scrimmage. He's right there connected with, looks like he just caught the heel.
Tripped on the 25-yard line. 3rd and 7.
Hey, run. Overload. Hot. Hey, so man. Got it good? Yeah. Overload.
Hoyer with time, throwing. It is caught across the 45-yard line by Chester Rogers. What a throw by Hoyer.
It was something else, and an even better catch by Chester Rogers. How that ball wasn't knocked away, and yet he concentrated and was able to bring it in.
20-yard pickup. Clock continues to move. 2:20 to play. Mack picks his way to midfield and is stopped there before being pushed back. And that looks like it'll take us to the 2-minute warning. 2 minutes to play here at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. Miami leading by 4.
The NFL on CBS is sponsored by State Farm. Talk to an agent today at 800-STATE-FARM. And by the Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
Welcome back, everyone. Those of you expecting to see 60 minutes, you're watching the NFL on CBS, our game between the Dolphins and the Colts. Greg Gumbel along with Trent Green and Melanie Collins. It is 16-12 in favor of Miami. 60 minutes will be seen in its entirety immediately following this game, except on the West Coast. Plenty to do here, though. 2 minutes on the clock. Indianapolis with the ball and all 3 of their timeouts.
And with those 3 timeouts, Greg, that means you can use the whole field. You don't have to worry about getting to the boundary or getting out of bounds.
Hoyer over the middle. He's got his man inside the 30, and that's Eric Ebron.
What an excellent throw to Ebron from Hoyer. Eric Rowe was in position, undercut it, just the ball was placed up high where only Ebron could climb up and get it.
23-yard pickup. They'll give it to Hines, and Hines makes his way to the 20.
And this is why if you're the quarterback, if you're Brian Hoyer and you've had the day that you've had, 3 interceptions, you go down, get a touchdown here on this final drive and put them in position and ultimately get the win. You're not going to forget about the 3 interceptions, but it definitely makes Colts fans, your coaching staff, your teammates know you can get it done in the crunch.
Hoyer, sideline, incomplete. Marcus Johnson, the intended receiver, covered by Ken Crawley.
Man-to-man coverage. A lot of hands on both players.
As noted by the fans here watching the board.
Well, they only saw the one hand. They didn't see the blue pushing as well.
3rd and 3. And the Colts are thinking touchdown on this drive.
Looks like the Dolphins going man-to-man coverage once again.
Hoyer throwing, sideline. That is complete to Ebron. 1st down. Out of bounds, stops the clock, 59 seconds to play.
And you may be sitting there thinking, why didn't he take it right away? He had a quick throw to the flat that would have gotten the 1st down. He's looking for the touchdown. He had his eyes one-on-one down the sideline, and then he got to Ebron late, but able to pick up the 1st down.
Colts have gotten only a touchdown out of their 4 red zone trips prior to this. Hoyer, under pressure, got rid of it, incomplete to Ebron. And Eric Rowe broke it up.
That time Rowe's in position to knock it away as Hoyer was under pressure getting hit as he was throwing. Dolphins haven't let up on the pressure. They're staying aggressive.
55 seconds on the clock, 2nd and 10. Hoyer with time, lofts it to the end zone, incomplete, intended for Chester Rogers. It'll be 3rd and 10.
Well, with the Dolphins pressuring as much as they have, that time the Colts kept everybody in except for the 2 receivers that went out on the route. So not a lot of options if you're Brian Hoyer, but you had plenty of time to make a decision and just nowhere really to put the football. It was a good location of the pass. Either his guy or nobody.
Again, the Colts with all 3 of their timeouts remaining. 3rd and 10. They need the 6-yard line for a 1st down. Hoyer to the corner of the end zone, incomplete. Ebron, the intended receiver, out there, double covered. Fourth and 10.
I'm all for being aggressive. Listen, I love taking shots of the end zone, but understanding that it was 3rd and 10, I'd have rather have seen him throw the ball to Hines in the flat, try and get 5 yards. If you get a missed tackle, because it's man-to-man coverage, if you get a missed tackle, then you may ultimately end up scoring or getting the 1st down.
And here they will use their first timeout in the 2nd half to talk things over.
Last 2 plays trying to throw corner routes against double coverage, putting it into a tight window.
What do they say? You can't use those timeouts in the locker room? Well, for the moment, it comes down to this. The Colts can still get a 1st down without scoring a touchdown.
Well, and here's the other way to look at it, Greg, is had you not taken that timeout and you missed it here on 4th down, then with those 3 timeouts, you could have gotten the ball back if you prevent the Dolphins from getting a 1st down. So we'll see if that comes back to haunt them as well.
Fourth and 10. Hoyer with good protection, good time, throwing. It is caught, but short of a 1st down by Eric Ebron. They're going to take a look. It appeared that he was down at about the 7-yard line, and it is Miami ball.
Yeah, I don't think anything from that replay. Good location with the pass to get it away, just not enough for the first down.
Was a field goal and an onside kick an option, Trent?
I don't think so.
Too little time left on the
not
clock.
Not with the way the onside kicks are set up now, and the way that the recovery rate on onside kicks. He's a little pumped up.
Oh,
he should be.
All the way down the
be.
sideline to make sure that that's a yard short of a first down. Owner Steve Ross on hand to watch, ostensibly, his team go to 2-7 with a second straight win.
No, unless something crazy happens here, he should be. It's just a matter of getting the snap and taking the knee, even though the Colts have 2 timeouts. They won't be able to stop it 3 times, and that goes back to the use of that timeout on 4th down.
And they are not stopping the clock. They're shaking hands. So the Indianapolis Colts will lose a second straight.
Back-to-back disappointing losses for the Colts. They really had put themselves into position. They started off struggling at the beginning of the year. They're 3-0 against teams that have a winning record, but now they're just 2-4 against teams that are below 500, at 500 or below.
Meanwhile, Brian Flores sees his team chalk up a second consecutive win. And it puts the Miami Dolphins at 2-7 in the AFC East, while Indianapolis falls to 5-4. A reminder for you, tonight on CBS begins with 60 Minutes and a wide-ranging interview with Jamie Dimon, head of America's largest bank. It's followed by new episodes of God Friended Me, NCIS Los Angeles, and Madam Secretary. That's tonight, only CBS. Brian Flores and the Miami Dolphins leave Indianapolis with a hard-earned win. The final score, the Dolphins 16 and the Indianapolis Colts 12. For Trent Green, Melanie Collins, and Gene Steratore and the rest of our crew here in Indianapolis, Greg Gumbel saying so long from Lucas Oil Stadium. You have been watching the NFL on CBS.